Picture, if you will, the Earth as it existed 500 million years ago. The continents we know today were scattered puzzle pieces across a blue marble spinning in space. The oceans stretched vast and alien, their waters teeming with creatures that would seem like visitors from another planet. Yet in those ancient seas, something remarkable was beginning its eternal dance. The first jellyfish, gentle phantoms that would outlast empires, outlast species, outlast the very shape of the world itself. Before we continue this journey, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extraordinary for you. These were the pioneers of the Cambrian seas, though they bore little resemblance to the armoured trilobites that scuttled across the seafloor or the strange, spined creatures that would become the stuff of fossil hunters' dreams. No, the jellyfish chose a different path entirely. While other life forms built shells and grew spines, jellyfish embraced simplicity. They became living water, transparent wanderers whose very existence seemed to whisper an ancient secret. Sometimes the most elegant solutions are also the most enduring. Consider the magnitude of what they witnessed. As these gentle drifters pulsed through the Ordovician oceans, they saw the first coral reefs bloom like underwater cities. They drifted past as the first fish evolved their backbones, as plants began their tentative conquest of land, as forests of giant ferns carpeted continents that would one day bear our footsteps. Through it all, the jellyfish remained unchanged, their design so perfect that evolution saw no need to tinker with success, but their greatest test was yet to come. 250 million years ago, the Earth convulsed in what scientists call the Great Dying, the Permian extinction that claimed 96% of all marine life. Imagine, for a moment, seas emptying of their multitudes, entire ecosystems collapsing like underwater civilizations returning to dust. Trilobites, those masters of the ancient seafloor who had ruled for nearly 300 million years, vanished forever. Coral reefs died en masse. The ocean itself turned acidic and oxygen-starved. Yet through this apocalypse, jellyfish endured. Their simple bodies, unburdened by complex organs or rigid structures, proved more resilient than the most elaborate evolutionary achievements. They drifted through dying seas like ghosts, their transparent forms moving with the same hypnotic rhythm they had maintained for eons. When the world rebuilt itself from the ashes of the Permian catastrophe, jellyfish were there to witness the dawn of new ages. They watched as dinosaurs evolved and diversified, their massive forms thundering across landscapes, while jellyfish continued their silent patrol of the world's waters. They pulsed through Jurassic seas where marine reptiles the size of whales hunted beneath waves. When the asteroid struck 66 million years ago, turning the sky to fire and casting the Earth into darkness, jellyfish survived that cosmic catastrophe too. As the reign of dinosaurs ended and mammals began their rise, jellyfish maintained their eternal vigil, unchanged and unchanging. The ice ages came and went like slow, cold breaths across the planet. Glaciers advanced and retreated, sea levels rose and fell, continents drifted into new configurations. Through each transformation, jellyfish adapted not by changing themselves, but by flowing with the currents of change itself. They rode the shifting ocean highways, their populations ebbing and flowing with the planet's moods, always finding ways to thrive in whatever world emerged from the chaos of geological time. In the frozen museums of stone we call fossil beds, their story is written in whispers. The Burgess Shale of British Columbia holds treasures that make paleontologists' hearts race creatures. So bizarre they seem crafted by alien imagination. Among them lies Essexella, a jellyfish preserved with such exquisite detail that after 505 million years we can still trace the delicate curves of its bell, the graceful sweep of its tentacles. Here is proof that even in those ancient seas, jellyfish had already perfected their design. But fossils tell only part of their story. The real testament to jellyfish endurance lives in our oceans today. When you watch a moon jelly pulse through coastal waters, you are witnessing a form that has remained virtually unchanged since before complex life conquered the land. Their DNA carries the memory of seas that knew no fish, no whales, no seabirds. They are living links to a planet we could barely recognize, ambassadors from a time when Earth was still writing the first chapters of its biological epic. What can we learn from such perseverance? In a world obsessed with progress and innovation, jellyfish offer a different wisdom. They remind us that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in complexity, but in simplicity, not in resistance to change, but in the ability to flow with it. Their transparent bodies, more water than substance, teach us that resilience can be found in the most unexpected forms. As you drift off to sleep tonight, consider their gentle example. For 500 million years, they have moved through the world's waters with a patience that spans geological ages. They have survived mass extinctions that ended entire eras, weathered climate shifts that transformed the planet, and outlasted species that once seemed invincible. Their secret is not armor or weapons or complex strategies for survival. Their secret is surrender to the current, to the tide, to the rhythm of existence itself. In their translucent bodies, we glimpse a truth as old as the oceans, that sometimes the most profound way to endure is simply to flow with grace through whatever currents life may bring. Tomorrow, we will discover how these ancient mariners built their extraordinary bodies from the very substance of the sea itself, crafting forms so elegant that they seem more dream than reality. The jellyfish drift on, as they have for 500 million years, carrying their ancient wisdom through waters that connect all shores, all times, all possibilities. In their gentle pulsing, the heartbeat of the ocean itself continues, unchanged and eternal, a rhythm that began before memory and will continue long after our own chapter in Earth's story has been written in stone. Imagine holding a creature that is 95% water in your hands. Not just any water, but ocean water, the same saline solution that fills the spaces between continents, that carries the memory of ancient rains and primordial storms. This is the jellyfish, a being so intimately connected to its liquid world that the boundary between organism and ocean nearly disappears. When we speak of jellyfish bodies, we must abandon our terrestrial understanding of what bodies can be. No skeleton provides structure, no blood carries oxygen, no brain orchestrates behavior. Instead, evolution has crafted something far more elegant, a living embodiment of the sea itself, pulsing with rhythms that echo the very heartbeat of the planet. Consider the bell of a moon jelly as it contracts and expands in the gentle currents of a tidal pool. Every 4 seconds, muscles that exist as mere threads of tissue compress the translucent dome, forcing water downward and propelling the creature forward with surprising grace. This is jet propulsion refined to its essence, a principle so efficient that human engineers study jellyfish movement to design underwater vehicles that can navigate with 90% energy efficiency. But how does a creature with no brain coordinate such precise movement? The answer lies in one of nature's most elegant solutions, the nerve net. Imagine lightning made of living tissue, spreading throughout the jellyfish body like an electrical storm frozen in gelatin. This network of interconnected neurons processes information without hierarchy, without a central command center. When a stimulus touches any part of the jellyfish, signals ripple through this living web, triggering responses that seem almost magical in their coordination. Touch a jellyfish tentacle, and within 3 milliseconds, faster than the blink of an eye, specialized cells called cnidocytes spring into action. Each one is a microscopic marvel, a cellular harpoon loaded with venom and triggered by the slightest pressure or chemical signal. Under a microscope, these cells reveal themselves as nature's most sophisticated weapon system, capable of firing projectiles at accelerations that would shatter any human-made device. The cnidocyte sits coiled like a spring, its internal pressure reaching 150 atmospheres, a pressure that could power a car engine. When triggered, a hollow thread shoots out, penetrating prey or predator with force so tremendous it can punch through crab shells. Yet this same mechanism, so violent in its action, serves jellyfish who drift through their world with the gentleness of falling snow. What truly astounds is how these creatures maintain their form while being essentially liquid themselves. Their bodies exist in a state that biologists call organized water, a jelly-like matrix called mesoglea that gives structure without weight, flexibility without fragility. This material, more gel than flesh, contains proteins that form invisible scaffolding within the water, creating a body that can compress to a fraction of its size, yet spring back to perfect form. Watch a jellyfish emerge from the narrow opening of a research vessel's collection tube, and you witness something that seems to defy physics. Compressed into a space barely large enough to contain a marble, the creature flows out like liquid, then slowly expands until its bell reaches, the size of a dinner plate. No internal framework was broken, no organs damaged, the jellyfish simply returned to its natural state, as if it had been made of nothing more substantial than organized moonlight. Their transparency serves purposes we are only beginning to understand. Light passes through their bodies with minimal distortion, making them nearly invisible to both predators and prey. In the sun-dappled waters of coral reefs, jellyfish become living windows, their edges visible only as subtle distortions in the water column, like heat mirages made flesh. This invisibility is not passive camouflage but active stealth technology, evolved over hundreds of millions of years. Yet some jellyfish have mastered an even more remarkable feat: they have learned to farm light itself. Deep in their tissues, certain species cultivate algae, called zooxanthellae, single-celled plants that transform sunlight into sugar through photosynthesis. The jellyfish provides protection and nutrients. The algae provide food. This partnership, older than the first forests, creates jellyfish that are part animal, part floating garden, pulsing through sunlit waters while their internal crops harvest energy from the sky. The immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dohrnii, has achieved something that seems to belong in the realm of mythology rather than biology. When faced with stress, injury, or old age, this remarkable creature can reverse its development, returning to its juvenile polyp stage and beginning life anew. It is as if a butterfly could transform back into a caterpillar, or an adult human could return to infancy while retaining the ability to mature again. In laboratory studies, individual Turritopsis have undergone this transformation dozens of times, earning them the title of biologically immortal. This reversal of aging involves a process called transdifferentiation, where specialized cells abandon their adult roles and return to a more primitive state. Muscle cells become nerve cells, reproductive cells become feeding cells. The entire body reorganizes itself like a complex symphony playing in reverse. Scientists study this phenomenon with intense interest, wondering if the keys to human longevity might be hidden in the transparent bodies of these thumb-sized time travelers. But perhaps the most beautiful aspect of jellyfish anatomy is how it reflects the ocean's own rhythms. Their bells pulse with frequencies that match the natural oscillations of seawater, their movements creating vortices that mirror the spiral patterns of currents and storms. When millions of jellyfish move together, they generate waves that propagate through the water column, creating underwater weather systems visible from space. In the deepest trenches, where pressure would crush submarines and eternal darkness reigns, jellyfish have evolved bodies that seem crafted from crystallized starlight. These deep-sea species produce their own illumination through biochemical reactions so efficient they generate almost no heat. Cold light that pierces the abyss with blue and green radiance. Their bioluminescence serves as both sword and shield, startling predators with sudden flashes while attracting prey with hypnotic displays. The chemistry of this light production reads like poetry written in molecular language. Luciferin combines with oxygen in the presence of the enzyme luciferase, releasing photons that travel at the speed of light through water that has known darkness for millions of years. This is the same basic reaction that illuminates fireflies on summer evenings, yet in jellyfish it has evolved into an art form of unparalleled beauty. As we contemplate these living manifestations of liquid architecture, we begin to understand that jellyfish represent more than just another form of marine life. They are proof that consciousness, movement, and purpose need not require the complex scaffolding we associate with higher life forms. Their existence suggests that intelligence can flow as naturally as water, that awareness can pulse through the simplest networks, that life's most profound solutions often wear the face of elegant simplicity. Tomorrow, we will follow these masters of liquid engineering as they navigate the vast highways of the sea, riding currents that circle the globe and performing migrations that dwarf the journeys of any land animal. But tonight, as you settle into sleep, consider the gentle wisdom of creatures who have learned to be simultaneously substantial and ethereal, powerful and peaceful. Ancient and eternal living reminders that sometimes the most profound mysteries are hidden in the clearest waters. Every evening, as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the greatest migration on Earth begins in silence. Not across African savannas or through Arctic skies, but in the three-dimensional highways of the world's oceans. Billions upon billions of jellyfish begin their nightly ascent from the depths, rising through columns of water toward the surface in a movement so vast it can be detected by satellites orbiting hundreds of miles above. This is the diel vertical migration, a daily rhythm that predates the first heartbeat, the first breath, the first conscious thought on our planet. As darkness spreads across the water's surface, jellyfish by the countless millions rise from depths of 2,000 feet, their translucent bodies catching the last rays of sunlight like living prisms. They come seeking the tiny organisms that also rise with the night copepods, krill and larvae that form the ocean's floating grasslands. But jellyfish navigation encompasses far more than these daily vertical journeys. They are masters of horizontal travel as well, following ocean currents with such precision that marine biologists track global circulation patterns by studying jellyfish populations. These creatures have discovered something that human sailors took millennia to understand. The ocean is not a uniform body of water, but a complex system of rivers within the sea. Consider the lion's mane jellyfish, largest of all known jellyfish species, whose bell can reach 8 feet in diameter and whose tentacles trail for 100 feet or more. These giants ride the Gulf Stream like living sailboats, their massive tentacles streaming behind them in crimson curtains that filter countless gallons of seawater. They begin their journey in the cold waters off Labrador and Nova Scotia, drifting southward at 3 miles per hour through the ocean's most powerful current system. As they travel, they follow temperature gradients with uncanny accuracy. Their bodies are living thermometers, capable of detecting changes in water temperature as subtle as 1/10 of a degree Celsius. This thermal sensitivity allows them to stay within the narrow bands of preferred temperature that wind through the ocean like invisible roads marked only by the physics of heating and cooling water masses. The precision of their navigation becomes even more remarkable when we consider that jellyfish possess no eyes as we understand them, no magnetic compass, no GPS system. Yet somehow, these creatures who are little more than organized water can distinguish between different water masses, follow chemical gradients across thousands of miles, and arrive at feeding or breeding grounds with timing that suggests an almost supernatural understanding of ocean dynamics. In the Arctic Ocean, compass jellyfish perform migrations that seem to defy the hostile environment of polar seas. As pack ice forms each winter, sealing the surface with barriers thick enough to support polar bears, these jellyfish continue their journeys beneath the frozen ceiling. They navigate by following the subtle changes in salinity that occur when sea ice forms, using the ocean's chemistry as a roadmap through a world where the sun disappears for months at a time. The tropical Indo-Pacific reveals another marvel of jellyfish navigation, the box jellyfish, whose cube-shaped bell and trailing tentacles make it one of the ocean's most recognizable travelers. Despite their fearsome reputation, these creatures demonstrate remarkable gentleness in their movements, pulsing through coral reef systems with such precision that they rarely disturb the delicate structures around them. They follow nutrient upwellings that bring deep ocean minerals to shallow tropical waters, timing their arrivals to coincide with plankton blooms that paint the sea in shades of green and gold. But perhaps the most extraordinary navigators are the deep-sea jellyfish that inhabit the ocean's midnight zone. In waters where sunlight has never penetrated, where pressure would compress human bodies to nothingness, jellyfish create their own light shows as they travel. Bioluminescent species like Atolla wivilli cruise through the eternal darkness, their bodies ringed with photophores that pulse in sequences as complex as any lighthouse beacon. These deep-sea travelers follow highways marked not by light or temperature, but by the subtle chemistry of ancient water masses. Some of the water through which they swim fell as rain over Antarctica thousands of years ago, sank to the ocean floor, and now creeps along the bottom of ocean basins like rivers of liquid time. Jellyfish detect these deep currents and ride them across entire ocean basins, their journeys measured not in days or weeks, but in decades. The glass jellyfish of the Pacific deep water reveal perhaps the most poetic aspect of jellyfish navigation. Their bodies, transparent as finest crystal, refract what little light filters down from the surface into rainbow prisms that dance through the darkness. They travel in loose aggregations that stretch for miles, their combined bioluminescence creating underwater aurora that pulse and swirl through the abyss. Each individual follows its neighbors in a form of collective navigation that transforms groups of simple creatures into a single, vast intelligence flowing through the sea. Recent research has revealed that jellyfish populations serve as living indicators of ocean health and climate change. As global temperatures rise and ocean currents shift, jellyfish distributions change in response, their movements tracking the planet's changing circulation patterns with the precision of natural instruments. Warm water species push into polar regions that were once too cold to support them, while cold water species retreat to deeper, cooler waters or follow shifting currents toward the poles. The Humboldt Current, which brings cold, nutrient-rich water northward along the South American coast, supports vast populations of jellyfish that follow its flow like aerial plankton following wind patterns. When climate oscillations like El Niño disrupt this current system, jellyfish populations shift accordingly, their distributions providing scientists with early warning signs of changing ocean conditions. In the Mediterranean Sea, where human civilization first learned to navigate by the stars, jellyfish populations have exploded in recent decades as warming waters and reduced fish populations create conditions favorable to their growth. Barrel jellyfish, their bells growing as large as garbage cans, now appear in such numbers that their movements create visible eddies and currents, their collective swimming actually altering local water circulation patterns. Perhaps most remarkably, jellyfish demonstrate that successful navigation through life's challenges need not require elaborate planning or complex decision-making. They succeed by developing exquisite sensitivity to their environment, by learning to detect the subtle signals that indicate favorable conditions ahead. They flow with forces larger than themselves, while maintaining their own purposeful direction through the currents of existence. As you contemplate your own journey through life's complexities, consider the jellyfish model of navigation. They do not fight against the ocean's power, but learn to read its moods, to detect its subtle messages, to find opportunity in forces that might seem overwhelming. Their success comes not from rigid determination, but from fluid responsiveness, not from forcing their way through obstacles, but from finding the channels where life flows most freely. Tonight, millions of jellyfish are beginning their ascent toward the surface, their bodies pulsing in rhythm with tides older than memory. They rise through darkness toward light, following pathways written in water and current, temperature and chemistry. In their gentle journeys, we glimpse possibilities for our own navigation through uncertainty, the wisdom of flowing with purpose, of reading the signs that point toward deeper currents of meaning and connection. Tomorrow, we will meet the human explorers who first encountered these masters of the liquid highways, brave souls who ventured into unknown waters to witness jellyfish in their natural realm. But for now, let the rhythm of their migrations carry you towards sleep, their ancient patterns of movement, a lullaby that connects you to the pulse of the living ocean itself. On the morning of November 15th, 1770, Captain James Cook stood at the bow of HMS Endeavour, squinting through the crystal waters of the Coral Sea. What he witnessed defied every expectation he had formed about the creatures that inhabit our planet's vast oceans. Floating like translucent islands in the tropical waters, jellyfish the size of dining tables drifted past his ship, their bells pulsing with hypnotic rhythm, their tentacles trailing behind them like silk banners in an underwater parade. Cook, a man who had mapped unknown coastlines and charted uncharted seas, found himself moved to poetry by these encounters. In his ship's log, he wrote of creatures that seemed fashioned from liquid moonlight, their bodies so transparent that the ocean's blue depths showed through them like windows into another world. These were likely Cyanea capillata lion's mane jellyfish, whose massive forms had travelled thousands of miles on currents that Cook was only beginning to understand. But Cook's wonder was tinged with respect born of experience. His sailors had learned to give these giants a wide berth after several painful encounters with their stinging tentacles. The ship's surgeon, William Monkhouse, documented the effects of jellyfish stings with scientific precision, noting how the venom caused immediate burning pain, followed by raised welts that persisted for days. Yet even as he treated these injuries, Monkhouse could not help but marvel at the elegant efficiency of creatures that could inflict such precise wounds while appearing as delicate as spun glass. 2 centuries would pass before humans would venture deeper into the jellyfish's realm. In 1934, marine biologist William Beebe made history when he descended into the ocean's depths in his bathysphere, a steel sphere barely large enough to contain 2 men suspended from the research vessel Arcturus by a cable thinner than a man's wrist. At a depth of 3,000 feet, where sunlight becomes little more than a memory, Beebe became the first human to witness deep-sea jellyfish in their natural habitat. Through the bathysphere's tiny windows, Beebe peered into an alien world illuminated only by the creatures themselves. His journal entries read like dispatches from another planet. At 2,000 feet, we encountered jellyfish that seemed crafted from crystallized starlight, their bodies producing light without heat, their movements as graceful as ballet dancers performing in slow motion for an audience of 1. The photographs Beebe took during these dives revealed creatures so ethereal they barely seemed real. Siphonophores colonial jellyfish stretched like living strings of pearls through the eternal darkness, each individual polyp specializing in a different function, yet connected to the whole by threads finer than spider silk. Some grew to lengths exceeding 150 feet, making them longer than blue whales, yet composed of creatures individually smaller than jellyfish. But it was the bioluminescence that truly captivated Beebe. In the absolute darkness of the deep ocean, jellyfish had evolved into living fireworks displays. Species like Atolawai produced rings of blue light around their bells when threatened, creating underwater galaxies that pulsed and swirled through the abyss. Others, like the cosmic jelly, Crossota species, trailed luminous tentacles that wrote cursive messages in languages of light across the ocean's midnight sky. Decades later, marine biologist Dr. Edith Widder would revolutionize our understanding of deep-sea jellyfish through her pioneering work with submersibles and specialized cameras. Her invention of the electronic jellyfish, a device that mimicked the bioluminescent distress signals of deep-sea creatures, revealed predator-prey relationships that had remained hidden since life first colonized the deep ocean. Dr. Widder's first encounter with a giant siphonophore remains one of the most documented meetings between human and jellyfish. Descending in the submersible deep rover at a location 400 miles southeast of Louisiana, she found herself face to face with a creature that seemed to embody the ocean's most impossible dreams. The siphonophore hung motionless in the water column like a living chandelier, its bell measuring nearly 4 feet across, its trailing tentacles disappearing into the darkness below. It was like meeting an angel, Dr. Widder later wrote. Here was a creature of such delicate beauty that it seemed impossible it could exist in the harsh environment of the deep sea. Yet it hung there with perfect composure, as if the crushing pressure and eternal darkness were no more challenging than a gentle summer breeze. Through her cameras, Dr. Widder captured the jellyfish's feeding behavior, watching as it deployed its tentacles like a living net, waiting with the patience of a saint for unwary prey to brush against the stinging cells. When contact occurred, the reaction happened too quickly for the human eye to follow the tentacles contracted, hauling the prey toward the bell's margin where digestive processes began immediately. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery came when Dr. Widder's lights illuminated the creature's nervous system. Like lightning frozen in gelatin, the nerve net pulsed with electrical activity that coordinated the jellyfish's every movement. Here was proof that consciousness need not require a central brain, that awareness could be distributed throughout an organism, like stars scattered across the sky, each point of light contributing to a greater intelligence. The study of jellyfish bioluminescence led to one of the most significant medical breakthroughs of the modern era. Japanese scientist Osamu Shimomura spent decades studying the crystal jellyfish, Icorea victoria, eventually isolating the protein responsible for its green fluorescence. This discovery, which earned him the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2008, revolutionized medical research by providing scientists with a way to track living cells and proteins within the human body. Shimomura's work began with a simple question: how do jellyfish produce light? His answer transformed modern medicine. The green fluorescent protein he isolated from Icorea has since been used to study cancer progression, track genetic diseases, and understand how damaged nerves regenerate. Surgeons now use jellyfish-inspired fluorescent markers to identify cancerous tissue during operations, while researchers employ them to watch in real time as experimental treatments move through patients' bodies. The connection between jellyfish and space exploration began in 1991, when NASA launched 2,400 baby jellyfish to the International Space Station aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia. The experiment, designed to study how microgravity affects development, revealed that jellyfish raised in space develop significant problems with their sense of balance when returned to Earth. This discovery provided crucial insights into the challenges astronauts face during extended space missions and helped develop countermeasures for space-induced disorientation. Modern encounters with jellyfish continue to yield surprising discoveries. In 2012, researchers studying Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish, documented the complete genetic reprogramming that allows these creatures to reverse their aging process. The implications for understanding human aging and cellular regeneration have sparked a new field of research that combines jellyfish biology with cutting-edge genetic therapy. Deep-sea explorers using modern submersibles now regularly encounter jellyfish species unknown to science. In the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans, researchers have photographed jellyfish living at depths where the pressure exceeds 1,000 times that at sea level. These creatures, existing in conditions more extreme than the surface of Mars, demonstrate life's remarkable ability to adapt to seemingly impossible environments. The most recent frontier in jellyfish research involves the study of their collective behavior. When millions of jellyfish aggregate in massive blooms, they create underwater weather systems that can be observed from space. These blooms, some covering areas larger than small countries, generate currents and waves that affect local ocean circulation patterns. Scientists are now studying these phenomena to understand how jellyfish populations might be responding to climate change and what their movements reveal about the health of marine ecosystems. Perhaps the most profound aspect of human encounters with jellyfish lies not in what we have learned about them, but in what they have taught us about the nature of existence itself. These creatures, composed mostly of water yet capable of purposeful movement, challenge our assumptions about what constitutes a body, a mind, a life. They exist in a state of being that seems to blur the boundaries between organism and environment, between individual and ocean. As we develop new technologies to explore the depths, we continue to discover that jellyfish possess capabilities that surpass our most advanced engineering. Their efficient swimming mechanisms inspire the design of underwater robots. Their bioluminescent systems provide templates for new forms of lighting, and their regenerative abilities offer hope for treatments of human diseases previously considered incurable. Tonight, as research vessels around the world lower cameras and submersibles into the dark waters, new encounters with jellyfish await. Each meeting brings the possibility of discovery, the chance to witness behaviors or creatures never before seen by human eyes. In their transparent bodies and gentle movements, we find reflections of our own journey through the mysteries of existence, and reminders that the most profound encounters often come not from seeking to conquer or control, but from approaching with wonder, respect, and the humility to learn from intelligences utterly different from our own. Tomorrow, we will explore the astonishing diversity of jellyfish species. From giants that dwarf whales to creatures smaller than buttons, each one a unique solution to the challenge of living gracefully in the liquid realm. But for now, let the memory of these historic encounters carry you towards sleep, their legacy of human courage and scientific wonder, a bridge between our terrestrial dreams and the vast mysteries that await in the depths of the sea. In the warm coastal waters off Japan, something extraordinary stirs beneath the waves. Rising from depths where volcanic vents heat the seafloor, Nomura's jellyfish begin their journey toward the surface, creatures so massive they seem to belong in the realm of sea monsters rather than scientific classification. Their bells can grow to exceed 2 meters in diameter, their bodies weighing more than 200 kilograms, making them larger than most marine mammals and heavier than a full-grown lion. Yet these giants represent just one note in the vast symphony of jellyfish diversity. At the opposite end of the spectrum, in the same Pacific waters, swim jellyfish so small they could rest comfortably on a human fingernail. The irukandji, barely 1 centimeter across, carries within its diminutive form venom potent enough to stop a human heart. Here is nature's reminder that size bears no relationship to power, that the ocean's most formidable inhabitants often wear the faces of delicate beauty. Between these extremes lies a universe of forms that seems limited only by the ocean's imagination. In the Mediterranean, barrel jellyfish drift like living drums, their bells shaped precisely as their name suggests, growing to the size of large garbage bins yet remaining translucent enough that sunlight streams through them in cathedral patterns. Divers encountering these gentle giants report an almost spiritual experience, swimming through underwater forests of translucent columns that pulse with the rhythm of ancient tides. The moon jelly, perhaps the most familiar of all jellyfish, demonstrates how elegance can emerge from simplicity. Their circular bells, marked with 4 distinct horseshoe-shaped reproductive organs, drift through coastal waters like living satellites reflecting earthly tides rather than lunar phases. These creatures, found in nearly every ocean on Earth, have mastered the art of being simultaneously ubiquitous and ethereal, common yet mysterious. But it is in the deep ocean that jellyfish diversity truly explodes into forms that challenge our understanding of what bodies can become. The Atolla jellyfish, inhabitants of the midnight zone where no sunlight penetrates, have evolved bells that function as living alarm systems. When threatened, they produce a ring of brilliant blue bioluminescence that radiates outward like an underwater police siren, the light visible from hundreds of meters away in the eternal darkness. Even more extraordinary are the siphonophores, colonial jellyfish that blur the line between individual organism and floating ecosystem. The Portuguese man-o'-war, despite its fearsome reputation, represents a marvel of biological cooperation. What appears to be a single creature is actually a colony of specialized individuals, each adapted for a specific function. Some form the gas-filled float that keeps the colony at the surface. Others become the stinging tentacles that can trail for 30 meters or more, while still others serve as the digestive system or reproductive organs. But the ultimate expression of siphonophore complexity may be Praia dubia, a deep-sea species that can reach lengths of 46 meters, making it longer than a blue whale, yet constructed entirely of creatures individually smaller than jellyfish. These living chains drift through the abyss like underwater trains, their bodies organized into functional cars, feeding sections, swimming sections, reproductive sections, all connected by a neural highway that coordinates their collective behavior. In the Arctic Ocean, where ice forms ceilings thick enough to support polar bears, the lion's mane jellyfish has adapted to become the largest known species of true jellyfish. Their bells can exceed 2.5 meters in diameter, while their tentacles stream behind them for more than 30 meters, creating trailing curtains of stinging cells that filter enormous volumes of frigid water. These Arctic giants have been documented with tentacles reaching lengths of 37 meters longer than a blue whale, their crimson and orange tentacles creating underwater auroras as they pulse through polar seas. The upside-down jellyfish of tropical lagoons represents one of evolution's most elegant solutions to the challenge of energy acquisition. Cassiopeia species have learned to farm sunlight, hosting millions of symbiotic algae in their tissues while resting bell down on sandy bottoms. Like living solar panels, they pulse gently to circulate water through their tissues, ensuring their algae receive optimal light exposure while the jellyfish harvest the sugars produced by photosynthesis. These underwater gardens can cover entire lagoon floors, their rhythmic pulsing creating hypnotic displays that seem more like breathing landscapes than individual animals. Perhaps the most philosophically intriguing of all jellyfish is Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish discovered in the Mediterranean in 1883. This small creature, barely 4.5 millimeters in diameter, possesses the ability to reverse its aging process and return to its juvenile polyp stage when faced with stress, starvation, or old age. The process, called transdifferentiation, allows specialized adult cells to transform into entirely different cell types, effectively resetting the creature's biological clock. In laboratory conditions, individual Turritopsis have undergone this transformation dozens of times, theoretically achieving biological immortality. The implications of this ability have captured the imagination of researchers studying human aging and cellular regeneration. Here is a creature that treats death not as an ending, but as merely another phase in a potentially infinite cycle of renewal. The crystal jellyfish, Icoria victoria, inhabits the cold waters of the Pacific Northwest, its transparent bell rimmed with brilliant bioluminescent organs that produce green light when disturbed. These creatures, growing to 25 centimeters in diameter, have contributed more to human medicine than perhaps any other jellyfish species. The green fluorescent protein isolated from their light-producing organs has revolutionized biological research, allowing scientists to track living cells and proteins within the human body with unprecedented precision. In the warm waters of the Indo-Pacific, box jellyfish species have evolved into some of the ocean's most sophisticated swimmers. Unlike true jellyfish, which drift largely at the mercy of currents, box jellies can actively navigate using primitive eye-like organs called arhopalia. These structures, though lacking true vision, can detect light, dark, and even simple shapes, allowing box jellyfish to navigate around obstacles and actively hunt for prey. The sea nettle, with its graceful, flowing tentacles and rhythmic swimming motion, embodies the classical beauty we associate with jellyfish. Found in both Atlantic and Pacific waters, these creatures exist in several species that demonstrate how similar forms can adapt to vastly different environments. Pacific sea nettles, with their golden bells and flowing tentacles, create underwater ballets in the kelp forests of California, while Atlantic sea nettles, marked with distinctive radial stripes, drift through the warmer waters of the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean. Deep in the ocean's abyssal plains, where pressure would crush surface dwellers and eternal darkness reigns, jellyfish have evolved forms that seem crafted from pure imagination. The Crossota species, inhabiting depths exceeding 4,000 meters, have developed bells that function like parachutes, allowing them to hover motionless in the water column while their trailing tentacles sweep for prey. Their bodies, transparent as finest crystal, refract what little bioluminescent light exists in the abyss into rainbow prisms that dance through the darkness. The diversity of jellyfish reproduction strategies proves as varied as their physical forms. While some species release eggs and sperm into the water column in hope that chance will bring them together, others have evolved elaborate mating rituals. Certain deep-sea species release bioluminescent clouds that serve as both protection and mating display, their light shows creating underwater fireworks that can be seen from great distances in the eternal darkness. Some jellyfish species undergo complex life cycles that involve multiple forms. They begin as tiny polyps attached to rocks or coral, reproduce asexually to create colonies, and then release medusae, the familiar jellyfish form, which swim away to reproduce sexually and begin the cycle anew. This alternation between attached and free-swimming generations allows jellyfish to exploit both benthic and pelagic environments, maximizing their survival opportunities across diverse ocean habitats. Perhaps most remarkably, new jellyfish species continue to be discovered regularly, particularly in the deep ocean where much remains unexplored. Each new discovery reveals adaptations that push the boundaries of what we consider possible in living organisms. Some produce light in colors never before documented. Others display behaviors that challenge our understanding of simple nervous systems, and still others demonstrate capabilities that inspire new technologies and medical treatments. The study of jellyfish diversity reveals fundamental truths about evolution and adaptation. These creatures have explored nearly every possible solution to the challenge of living in liquid environments. From microscopic hunters to gentle giants, from immortal wanderers to colonial cooperatives, they demonstrate that life's creativity knows no bounds when given the vast laboratory of the ocean and the patient sculptor of evolutionary time. As you drift towards sleep, consider the infinite creativity displayed in jellyfish forms. Each species a unique poem written in the language of water and current, each adaptation a solution to challenges we can barely imagine. Their diversity reminds us that life's possibilities extend far beyond our terrestrial experience, that consciousness and purpose can manifest in forms as varied as the stars themselves. In the gentle pulsing of their bells and the graceful streaming of their tentacles, we glimpse the boundless creativity that flows through all existence, connecting every living thing through currents deeper than any ocean. Tomorrow, we will discover how these magnificent creatures serve as guardians of ocean health, their presence or absence revealing the hidden rhythms that maintain the balance of marine life. But tonight, let their infinite variety inspire dreams of possibilities yet to be discovered, forms yet to evolve, adaptations yet to emerge from the endless creativity of life itself. Each morning, as the first light of dawn penetrates the surface waters of our planet's oceans, a single moon jelly begins its daily work as one of nature's most efficient janitors. Through gentle contractions of its translucent bell, this seemingly simple creature will filter up to 50,000 gallons of seawater before sunset, removing particles too small for human eyes to see, clarifying the ocean one pulse at a time. This filtration process represents one of the ocean's most elegant recycling systems. As the moon jelly moves through the water column, microscopic plankton, bacteria, and organic debris become trapped in the mucus that coats its bell and tentacles. What might appear to casual observers as random drifting is actually precise environmental maintenance, performed by creatures whose ancestors began this work hundreds of millions of years before the first forests appeared on land. But jellyfish serve the ocean's health in ways that extend far beyond simple filtration. They function as living links in food webs that span from the smallest bacteria to the largest whales. In the North Pacific, Stella's sea eagles have learned to time their migrations to coincide with jellyfish blooms, diving through the surface to capture these protein-rich meals. Leatherback sea turtles, whose lineage stretches back 100 million years, have evolved beaks specifically designed to slice through jellyfish tissues, their throats lined with backward-pointing spines that prevent slippery prey from escaping. The relationship between sea turtles and jellyfish reveals one of the ocean's most ancient partnerships. A single adult leatherback can consume 200 pounds of jellyfish daily, their massive bodies sustained entirely by these gelatinous creatures that are 95% water. This seemingly impossible diet works because jellyfish concentrate nutrients from vast volumes of seawater, becoming living capsules of oceanic productivity. When Pacific leatherbacks begin their transoceanic migrations, covering distances of 12,000 miles between nesting beaches in Indonesia and feeding grounds off California, they follow jellyfish distributions with precision that suggests an almost supernatural understanding of ocean productivity. Satellite tracking reveals that these ancient mariners navigate directly to areas where jellyfish populations bloom, their routes connecting distant ecosystems through invisible threads of biological necessity. Ocean sunfish, the world's largest bony fish, have also evolved to exploit jellyfish abundance. These gentle giants, reaching weights of 2,000 pounds, cruise slowly through temperate waters with their massive mouths agape. Filtering jellyfish from the water column like living combines harvesting underwater crops. Their presence in an area often indicates healthy jellyfish populations, making them valuable indicators of ecosystem balance. But jellyfish influence on ocean health extends beyond their role as food sources. During massive blooms, when populations explode into numbers that boggle the human imagination, jellyfish can actually alter local water chemistry and circulation patterns. In the Black Sea, blooms of Monimiopsis leedii, a comb jelly introduced from Atlantic waters, have been documented covering areas exceeding 10,000 square kilometers, their collective swimming creating currents detectable by oceanographic instruments. These population explosions often signal changes in ocean conditions that humans are only beginning to understand. When commercial fishing removes large predatory fish from an ecosystem, jellyfish populations may surge to fill the vacant ecological niche. This phenomenon has been observed in the Mediterranean, where intensive fishing has coincided with dramatic increases in jellyfish abundance. Areas once dominated by fish populations now pulse with jellyfish blooms that can persist for months. Climate change adds another layer of complexity to jellyfish population dynamics. As ocean temperatures rise, many jellyfish species find expanded habitats in waters that were previously too cold to support them. In the North Sea, populations of Chrysaora hysocella compass jellyfish have expanded their range northward by hundreds of miles, as warming waters create favorable conditions in previously hostile environments. The warming oceans also affect jellyfish through changes in ocean stratification. As surface waters heat more rapidly than deeper layers, the temperature differences between surface and depth increase, creating barriers that can trap nutrients in deep water while leaving surface waters increasingly depleted. Some jellyfish species thrive in these nutrient-poor conditions, their simple body plans requiring less energy than the complex physiologies of fish and other marine animals. Research stations across the globe now monitor jellyfish populations as indicators of ocean health, their abundance and distribution, providing early warning signals of ecosystem changes. The Jellyfish Database Initiative, coordinated by marine biologists from dozens of countries, tracks population trends that reveal patterns invisible to casual observation. These data show that while some species decline in response to pollution and habitat destruction, others explode in numbers when conditions favor their particular life strategies. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of jellyfish ecological influence lies in their role as oceanic time travelers. Their life cycles connect past and future in ways that challenge our understanding of marine ecosystem stability. When environmental conditions become unfavorable, many jellyfish species can essentially pause their development, remaining in their polyp stage for years or even decades until conditions improve. This ability to wait out difficult periods makes them survivors of changes that eliminate less adaptable species. The immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dohrnii, takes this survival strategy to its logical extreme. When faced with stress, starvation, or physical damage, these remarkable creatures can reverse their development, returning to their juvenile polyp stage and beginning life anew. This biological time travel allows them to outlast environmental changes that would prove fatal to organisms locked into linear aging processes. In the laboratories of Japan, marine biologist Shin Kubota has maintained colonies of Turritopsis for years, documenting their repeated cycles of maturity and rejuvenation. His work reveals that these creatures do not simply reset their biological clocks, they actually reorganize their entire body plan, transforming muscle cells into nerve cells, reproductive organs into feeding structures. This cellular plasticity suggests possibilities for regenerative medicine that researchers are only beginning to explore. The medical applications of jellyfish research extend far beyond regeneration studies. The bioluminescent proteins first isolated from crystal jellyfish now illuminate cancer cells in patients worldwide, allowing surgeons to distinguish healthy tissue from tumors with unprecedented precision. Green fluorescent protein and its derivatives have revolutionized our understanding of cellular processes, enabling researchers to track gene expression, protein interactions, and cellular movements in living organisms. Osamu Shimomura's Nobel Prize-winning discovery of green fluorescent protein began with a simple question about how jellyfish produce light without heat. His answer has since enabled medical breakthroughs that save thousands of lives annually. Cancer treatments guided by jellyfish-inspired fluorescent markers achieve success rates that seemed impossible just decades ago, while genetic therapy protocols use similar markers to ensure that therapeutic genes reach their intended targets. The study of jellyfish nervous systems has yielded insights into the fundamental nature of consciousness and decision-making. Despite lacking centralized brains, jellyfish demonstrate complex behaviors that suggest distributed intelligence, the ability to process information, and coordinate responses through networks rather than hierarchical command structures. This research influences the development of artificial intelligence systems that mimic the resilient, adaptive qualities of jellyfish neural networks. Modern aquaculture increasingly recognizes jellyfish as indicators of ecosystem health and stability. Fish farms monitor local jellyfish populations to assess environmental conditions, while marine protected areas track jellyfish diversity as a measure of conservation success. The presence of certain deep-sea jellyfish species indicates healthy deep-water environments, while their absence can signal pollution or habitat degradation. Perhaps most importantly, jellyfish remind us that ocean health depends on creatures that often remain invisible to human awareness. Their transparent bodies and gentle movements make them easy to overlook, yet their absence would collapse food webs that support some of the ocean's most magnificent creatures. They serve as living filters that maintain water clarity, as food sources that sustain migrations spanning entire ocean basins, and as indicators whose populations reflect the hidden health of marine ecosystems. As human activities increasingly affect ocean chemistry and temperature, jellyfish populations provide early warning systems for changes that might otherwise go unnoticed until they become irreversible. Their booms and busts reflect the ocean's response to warming, acidification, pollution, and overfishing, a biological barometer that measures the health of our planet's largest ecosystem. In coastal waters around the world, citizen scientists now participate in jellyfish monitoring programs, documenting sightings that contribute to global databases, tracking population trends. These observations, combined with satellite imagery and oceanographic data, create detailed pictures of how jellyfish populations respond to environmental changes, providing crucial information for conservation efforts and climate change research. Tonight, as you settle into sleep, consider the gentle work being performed by countless jellyfish around the world, their constant filtration, cleaning the water, their presence supporting food webs that connect microscopic plankton to massive whales, their populations serving as sensitive indicators of ocean health. In their translucent bodies and rhythmic movements, we find reminders that the most important work often happens quietly, performed by creatures whose contributions become visible only when we learn to see with the eyes of ecological understanding. Their example suggests that our own contributions to the world's health might follow similar patterns: steady, gentle, persistent efforts that filter negativity from our environment, support the networks of relationship that sustain communities, and serve as early warning systems for changes that threaten the balance we all depend upon. In learning to see jellyfish as ocean gardeners, we begin to understand our own roles as gardeners of the larger web of life. Tomorrow, we will explore how jellyfish wisdom guides us toward understanding our place in an uncertain future, their ancient adaptability offering lessons for navigating the changes ahead. But for now, let their quiet service inspire gratitude for the countless unseen workers who maintain the balance of our world, their gentle persistence, a lullaby that connects your rest to the eternal rhythms of ocean care. High above Earth, in the International Space Station where gravity releases its hold and humans float like jellyfish in an ocean of stars, astronauts conduct experiments that reveal profound connections between terrestrial seas and cosmic space. In specially designed chambers, baby jellyfish pulse through weightless water, their movements tracked by cameras that record every contraction of their developing bells. These creatures, born in zero gravity, will never know the pull of Earth's tides, yet their struggles to orient themselves in weightlessness mirror the challenges faced by astronauts on long-duration missions. The results of these space-based studies astonished researchers. Jellyfish raised in microgravity develop normally in most respects, their transparent bells forming perfectly, their tentacles growing in graceful spirals. But when returned to Earth's gravity, they display severe balance problems, unable to orient themselves properly in the water column. Their statocysts, tiny organs that detect gravity and orientation, never learn to function correctly in the absence of gravitational cues. This discovery illuminated a fundamental truth about adaptation and environment. Even creatures as ancient and resilient as jellyfish require specific conditions for their guidance systems to develop properly. The implications for human space exploration are profound. Like jellyfish born in zero gravity, astronauts who spend months in space experience similar disorientation when returning to Earth, their inner ears and balance systems struggling to readjust to gravitational pull. NASA scientists now study jellyfish navigation systems to develop better countermeasures for space-induced disorientation. The distributed intelligence of jellyfish nervous systems, networks that function without central command centers, provides templates for creating artificial guidance systems that could help future spacecraft navigate through the vast emptiness between worlds. But the influence of jellyfish extends far beyond space exploration. into the realm of underwater robotics and sustainable technology. Engineers at Virginia Tech have created autonomous underwater vehicles that mimic jellyfish propulsion, their artificial bells contracting with the same rhythmic efficiency that has carried jellyfish through Earth's oceans for 500 million years. These bio-inspired robots achieve energy efficiencies approaching 90%, far surpassing conventional propeller-driven submersibles. The jellyfish-inspired robots move through water with almost supernatural grace, their artificial bells made from smart materials that contract and expand in response to electrical signals. Unlike traditional underwater vehicles that fight against water resistance, these biomimetic swimmers work with fluid dynamics, their movements generating thrust while minimizing turbulence. They represent a new paradigm in underwater exploration machines that swim like living creatures rather than mechanical devices. Research teams are developing swarms of these jellyfish robots for ocean monitoring and exploration. Like their biological counterparts, these artificial creatures can work together without centralized control, their collective intelligence emerging from simple interactions between individual units. Deployed in groups of hundreds or thousands, they could monitor ocean health, track climate change effects, and explore underwater environments too dangerous for human divers. The medical applications of jellyfish research continue to expand into territories that seemed like science fiction just decades ago. Regenerative medicine researchers study the cellular reprogramming abilities of immortal jellyfish, seeking to understand how adult cells can be transformed into pluripotent stem cells capable of generating any tissue type. The implications for treating degenerative diseases, spinal cord injuries, and organ failure could revolutionize human medicine. Laboratory studies of Turritopsis dohrnii have revealed specific genes that control the transdifferentiation process, the cellular transformation that allows these creatures to reverse aging and achieve biological immortality. Researchers are now investigating whether similar pathways exist in human cells, dormant genetic programs that might be activated to promote tissue regeneration and repair. The bioluminescent systems of deep-sea jellyfish inspire new forms of sustainable lighting and energy storage. Scientists have created artificial bioluminescence that mimics jellyfish light production, generating illumination through chemical reactions that produce almost no heat and require minimal energy input. These bio-inspired lighting systems could replace conventional LED technology in applications where energy efficiency is critical. Quantum dot technology, inspired by the precise light wavelengths produced by jellyfish photophores, enables new forms of medical imaging and solar energy collection. These artificial light harvesting systems, based on jellyfish bioluminescence, convert sunlight to electricity with efficiencies that approach theoretical limits, promising revolutionary advances in renewable energy technology. The study of jellyfish collective behavior influences our understanding of emergent intelligence and self-organizing systems. When millions of jellyfish move together in massive blooms, they create patterns that exhibit properties of complex adaptive systems, behaviors that emerge from simple interactions between individuals to create collective intelligence greater than the sum of its parts. Computer scientists model these jellyfish swarms to develop new algorithms for artificial intelligence and robotics. The distributed decision-making observed in jellyfish aggregations provides templates for creating AI systems that can function without centralized control, adapting to changing conditions through collective learning rather than programmed responses. Climate change research increasingly depends on jellyfish as indicators of ocean transformation. Their populations serve as biological sensors that detect changes in temperature, acidity, and nutrient availability, with sensitivity that surpasses most mechanical instruments. Long-term jellyfish population data reveal trends that help scientists predict how marine ecosystems will respond to continued warming and acidification. Some jellyfish species thrive in the changing conditions brought by climate change, their populations expanding into new territories as warming waters create favorable habitats. Others retreat to deeper, cooler waters or shift their ranges toward the poles, their movements mapping the biological consequences of a warming planet. These population shifts provide early warning signals for changes that will eventually affect entire marine food webs. The resilient strategies employed by jellyfish offer lessons for human adaptation to environmental change. Their ability to enter dormant states during unfavorable conditions, their distributed nervous systems that function without central vulnerability, and their efficient energy use provide models for creating resilient human systems that can withstand disruption and uncertainty. Urban planners study jellyfish colony organization to design more resilient cities, distributed networks that can continue functioning even when parts of the system fail. The principles of jellyfish survival: flexibility, efficiency, and distributed intelligence influence everything from electrical grid design to emergency response systems. Biotechnology companies are developing jellyfish-inspired materials that could revolutionize manufacturing and construction. The flexible, strong materials that form jellyfish bells inspire new polymers that can change shape in response to environmental conditions. These smart materials could create buildings that adapt to weather changes, vehicles that modify their aerodynamics automatically, and medical devices that adjust their properties based on patient needs. The pharmaceutical industry continues to discover new applications for compounds, first isolated from jellyfish. Beyond the green fluorescent protein that transformed medical research, scientists have identified jellyfish proteins with potential applications in treating cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and autoimmune disorders. The biochemical diversity of jellyfish species provides a vast library of potentially therapeutic compounds. Aquaculture research explores the possibility of farming jellyfish as sustainable protein sources. Some Asian cultures have harvested jellyfish for food for centuries, and modern nutritional analysis reveals that these creatures provide high-quality protein with minimal environmental impact. Jellyfish farming could supplement traditional fisheries without depleting wild populations or damaging marine habitats. The philosophical implications of jellyfish research challenge our understanding of consciousness, identity, and the nature of life itself. These creatures, who exist in a state between individual and environment, between body and water, suggest that the boundaries we perceive between self and world may be more fluid than we imagine. Their distributed intelligence raises questions about the nature of mind and awareness. If consciousness can exist in a network spread throughout a jellyfish body, what does this suggest about the nature of human consciousness? If awareness can emerge from simple interactions between nerve cells, how might collective human intelligence evolve as our communication networks become more sophisticated? Future ocean exploration increasingly depends on technologies inspired by jellyfish adaptations. Deep-sea vehicles based on jellyfish propulsion could explore ocean trenches with minimal environmental impact, their gentle movements disturbing sensitive ecosystems less than conventional submarines. Bio-inspired sensing systems could detect chemical signatures and biological activity with the sensitivity of jellyfish nervous systems. Space agencies investigate whether jellyfish-inspired propulsion could enable efficient movement through the liquid oceans believed to exist beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. If life exists in these alien seas, creatures resembling jellyfish might represent the most successful forms of extraterrestrial adaptation to liquid environments. The economics of jellyfish research promise substantial returns on investment in scientific exploration. Biotechnology applications alone could generate billions of dollars in new pharmaceuticals, materials, and medical devices. The sustainable technologies inspired by jellyfish efficiency could reduce energy consumption and environmental impact across multiple industries. As we face an uncertain future marked by climate change, technological disruption, and resource limitations, jellyfish wisdom offers guidance for navigation through turbulent times. Their example suggests that survival and success may depend less on rigid strength than on flexible adaptation, less on individual competition than on collective intelligence, less on fighting change than on learning to flow with forces larger than ourselves. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, consider the jellyfish floating in space stations above our heads, their ancient forms, adapting to environments their ancestors never experienced. In their struggles to orient themselves in weightlessness, we glimpse our own challenges in navigating rapid change. In their ultimate success at surviving in conditions that would defeat more complex creatures, we find hope for our own adaptation to whatever futures await. The jellyfish continue their eternal dance through Earth's oceans, their transparent bodies carrying forward 500 million years of accumulated wisdom about survival, adaptation, and the art of flowing with grace through whatever currents the universe provides. In their gentle persistence, we find models for our own journey through uncertainty, reminders that sometimes the most profound strength emerges not from resistance to change, but from learning to pulse gently through whatever waters we encounter, maintaining our essential nature while adapting to conditions we never imagined possible. Their story continues, as it has for eons past and will for eons to come, a testament to the power of simplicity, the wisdom of flexibility, and the endless creativity of life itself, as it explores every possible way of existing beautifully in the vast, mysterious ocean of existence. In their transparent forms and hypnotic movements, we glimpse possibilities for our own evolution, our own adaptation, our own gentle mastery of the art of flowing through whatever tides the future may bring.